So you have been set a graphic novel task to create in virtual reality. And when you first start this, it can be quite daunting to try and imagine the types of things you might be able to do, and also how on earth will you do it. On screen I've got a couple of pictures here in 2D of a graphic novel, and if you have no idea how to draw, you might be quite daunted at the prospect of having to do this. But the thing about a graphic novel is there are many different ways you can approach it. It's a very loosely defined thing, and so there are many options that you can follow. So the first steps that I would recommend you actually take before you even start trying to create anything or write your story or anything along those lines is gather some reference. Find visual references that you might want to copy or draw reference from. So here's an example of some references that I've found. This is off the movie Blade Runner 2049. And you can see our main character is at a very drab looking farmhouse. But when he goes into this farmhouse, you can see there's this really vibrant color. And this color comes through for the rest of the film. And it's a very singular color throughout the whole film. So whenever our hero is on his main quest, you'll see this really vibrant yellow or yellow-orange throughout the whole film. And as he enters into the main part of his story, you can see more and more of this orange come through. So I find this some really awesome reference. I really love the visuals of this movie, and this is something that I can use to inspire how I might want to approach creating this 60-second graphic novel. But it's not the only one. There are many other options that you could do if you want to do film noir or you want to do cyberpunk. There are many different types of references you can find, and so here are just a few games that I've referenced. And you can see all of them have a very distinct look that are very different from each other and would be very different to the look from Blade Runner. So the next thing to question is what other approaches can you have? We've provided you with some content. We've provided you with some 3D models. We've provided you with some interactive content that you can actually create your story by. But you don't have to start with this. There are many other ways that you can approach it. Here's some reference from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 2014 film. And this was a very high-end CGI film. Most of it was high-end computer graphics. But to start the film off, they had some very deliberately lower-grade sketches that they used. They cut these sketches out and they presented it in a really dynamic way. But if you look at these sketches, you can see they're lower quality, but they really do an impressive job of kicking off the story. So when you approach this, there's no specific reason why you couldn't start, say, in 2D and have something like you're seeing in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles here. Or take what you're seeing in this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, take one of your sketches, put that into virtual reality. So instead of having a 2D result, you could have something that actually has depth. Now, you might hear all of this and come back to the fact that you can't draw. So you look at those Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff and go, yeah, again, even bad drawings, it's so far out of my experience, I don't know where to even start. But don't limit yourself to the idea that you have to draw. You could, for example, take a photograph and convert that into a 2D style image. So you could go straight to YouTube, choose pencil effect in Photoshop, and you'll see there's hundreds of tutorials of how to take a photograph and then convert that into something that looks like a drawn image. Here's an example of an image I've downloaded off the internet, and all I have to do is go to Filter, choose Filter Gallery, choose the filter I want, which is what I've done here. So I've got this result and it looks a little bit drawn, and then I'm going to add another layer and create my color over the top of it. Now, I'm not going to tell you how to do all of this because depending on what you want to do, there's 1,000 different ways to approach it. So here is an example from the 2018 film Robin Hood. And you can see that they have taken photographs and then created this stylized comic look to generate this graphic novel style feel to the credit sequence. Now, we wouldn't expect you to achieve something to this level, but you can see a style that you could adopt that would allow you to create a really awesome look without having to actually draw anything. Now, that's not to say that you should even do 2D. There's absolutely no reason why you should be doing a 2D photograph. I'm just saying this is one of the options you could do. Perhaps instead you want to load in the resources that we've created into Blender and create a 2D rendering as your initial start point for your story. Of course, there's also no reason why you have to start in 2D at all. Perhaps you want to start immediately in virtual reality and have no 2D elements to your story. This is entirely up to you how you want to start. It is very flexible and there are many, many ways you can approach it. So the first thing you need to do, as we've said, is gather your reference. But once you have your reference, it's time to write your script. Make sure your script is no more than 60 seconds. If you try more than 60 seconds, you'll have way too much to do. Once you're happy with your script, record it. Or if you don't want to do any recording, you could potentially use speech bubbles as a way, so a comic book style. Once you have your recorded script though, test it, listen to it, and re-record it if you think it's not working. Iteration is always the best way of improving your scene. Once you have your script and you're really happy with it, and if you're using audio or you're using the speech bubbles, it's time to build your scene. So build it. Build it in Vortals, see how it works. Again, test and iterate. Make sure that it's working as you expect. Is it lit right? Does it give you the feel that you want? And once you've got it all working, consider your technical requirements. Have you exceeded the polygon count? Does it meet the file size requirements? Once you have it working and looking like you want, you are now ready to deliver. So you've seen the reference that I've gathered, and now this is the script that I've written. And you can see that it's a very, very short script. So as I say, do not try write too much because you'll very quickly become overwhelmed with too much stuff. So my script is very, very short, but although it's short, it has a very clear purpose behind what is happening. We introduce our main character and the type of person that he is. And then we introduce the reason to have interactive elements. So our detective tells you that he's stuck on the street, and then he says that he's confused because he doesn't understand why a boat has anything to do with the story. Now you don't need to give backstory, you don't need to try explain any of this. This is just really saying you're about to see a boat and you're going to look for clues. That's the purpose of my script. Again, your script will be completely different, but this is one of the most difficult things to do in games, is give a story that helps the audience actually want to go and explore the environment. So this is what I've come up with.
It was a cold winter's day, perfect for being in the office. Instead, I'm stuck on the street. The problem kept swirling in my mind. Why a boat? What does this boat mean? There must be clues I haven't found.
And so now this is my interactive section. And it's very clear from my story that you need to search around this boat looking for clues. And so hopefully my script has motivated you to start trying to interact in this game environment. And this is the essence of game design, motivating your users to actually interact in the environment that you've built.